So what are we talking about today?
Web stuff.
Web stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Fluent's coming up.
And that's in a couple of weeks on the 20th, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything starts on the 20th.
Are you going?
Yep, yeah, I'll be going. There's, I think, 4 of us, so 4 people from GrapeCity will be there representing. So you can stop by if anybody's interested. We'll have a booth and have some cool Widmo demos set up and stuff like that. So
Super cool Widmo demos.
super cool.
I like it.
demos,
I like it.
as always.
So who's all going?
It's gonna be Chris Bannon, Bernardo, Sean, I think, maybe, I forget. It's somebody that I've never met before or don't know, and then myself.
Is it Sean Lawyer?
Yeah, I think it might be.
Cool. That'll be a good time. Yeah. Sounds like a fun bunch.
Yeah, I'm excited. It should be good.
Nice. So, for the people who aren't familiar with Fluent, you want to tell them a little bit about the conference?
Yeah, sure. So Fluent, it's the biggest, I think, in the U.S. at least, maybe in like North America or something like that, but the biggest HTML, CSS, and in general web development conference in the U.S. And it's sponsored by O'Reilly, so they make all kinds of programming books and stuff like that. But yeah, they usually pull in people who are prominent in the field. Right. So it's like any other conference. There's a lot of technical talks and things like that. I think there's a couple keynotes on different days, but it's a little more focused on training, I think, and tutorials than maybe some other conferences, because it's not really like one company trying to sell a product or anything like that. It's just more like, come together and talk about this specific field.
I feel like with JavaScript, there's always a ton of different technologies out there, new every year, and everybody has kind of, slightly different tastes as far as that goes. So it kind of makes sense to have a sampler, kind of guided tour through new stuff.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I almost need it. Like,
I would need it, yeah.
I definitely need it. Christian doesn't need it.
No,
Troy
I
doesn't
need it.
They're both professionals.
We all need it.
Christian and Troy are the web developers.
JavaScript,
the bunch.
Gourmands, but...
Yeah?
Yeah,
cool.
That's my official title. That's what it's going to say on my badge. But,
I like it. So are you guys is anybody talking Fluent from GrapeCity?
I don't know.
No?
Not this year, I don't think.
No.
Yeah, I think we're going to go and kind of be at the booth most of the time.
Cool.
But I mean, we'll spread out, talk to other people. There's definitely, I'd like to go to pretty much every talk, but obviously can't do that. But
any ones especially stick out to you that you'd like to attend?
So
or
there's
just topics.
Well, yeah, there's actually a pretty big React Native like tutorial kind of thing. Yeah, it's pretty long. It's one of the longer blocks, and I think that would be really cool to see. But in general, some of the like CSS stuff that people are talking about, like new CSS features and new browser APIs and stuff that are coming more widely available. Those will be interesting, I think. And then one thing that I've always been kind of interested in is DevOps, and JavaScript has kind of like blown up in that field. So
yeah, it's never been really, before the advent of things like Node and all the newer frameworks, it was never really meant for designed for DevOps or anything like that. Or never, It was never a really good choice for DevOps.
Yeah, there's definitely, with Node, there's all these task runners and things like that have kind of popped up, and I think too, now that people are using JavaScript to build more than just kind of front-end websites, people have evolved all these fancy like testing suites and stuff like that, and plus, when you are building for the web, deployment is always kind of a tough issue to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interesting talks revolving around that too. I know, excuse me, one big theme seems to be microservices, so like serverless computing and serverless web apps. But basically, we've talked about this a little bit actually. I've seen a few talks are going to be about using AWS Lambda and just kind of shipping code to the cloud, and then companies only have to pay for literally the amount of time they spend running the function that they ship to the cloud.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of cool. That you can kind of take your deployment, the processing of your code down to that granular of a level. Like I need to run this singular function, and you just send that. It performs that function. But how fast is that? Like, is it? What if you're running like I don't know, like a large number of functions?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on what exactly you're doing, but I forget the exact technology that they have running behind it. I don't even know if they fully publicize that kind of stuff, but
yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, but I think it's pretty fast. It's running on one of their server clusters, and it depends on what you're doing. A lot of people use it for like grabbing data from somewhere else and then returning it in a formatted way, like in a certain response that they need, things like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, even in a situation like that, like latency has to be like a concern.
Depends how much data you're pushing around.
Yeah.
Like if you so for example, so the Wismo FlexGrid is capable of handling a bunch of records of data. How would that affect the performance of something like the Wismo FlexGrid?
Well, I think the nice thing about it is that's another kind of interesting topic, but a little bit separate. But there are a bunch of new browser. No, it's okay. No, not that. It just relates to. There's a bunch of new browser APIs coming out now for actually requesting data and stuff like that. So if you're talking about like using a FlexGrid and loading data into it from somewhere else, you can use these browser APIs, which they've always been around, but they're a lot nicer now, to asynchronously retrieve code. So you basically
different ways of doing that. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. You would basically ping the endpoint where your Lambda function is living on AWS, and then you could set up your function to return data in chunks and like load it.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do something that's kind of page based, where you get like a data set that would represent a page in your grid, or you could do something that's like cursor based, where you're always like appending some number of items onto the end. So I think some kind of like infinite scrolling scenario, or something like that. But
right,
yeah.
I like it. I'm all for these JavaScript APIs and Lambda functions. That's cool. Yeah, we talked about some of the AWS stuff that they have. It's pretty sweet how like you can offload a lot of the minutia now. Whereas it used to be you had to send whole processes and get them back, like Ajax, for example. And when you'd have to pull your stuff and then send it back and postbacks and stuff like that. And it's kind of neat to see that now you can run these microservices, and you can kind of split that whole process out. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's definitely, things are evolving beyond that point kind of now. There's the whole Web 2.0 thing, that was a long time ago now. And that was kind of like Ajax and all that stuff. All the original asynchronous stuff started happening.
Right.
Now the APIs are basically becoming a lot more refined, and the way that you can structure your actual application code-wise ends up affecting the performance and makes it a lot better. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot you can do with JavaScript these days. It's funny, even just looking at, I don't know too much about Fluent, but I was looking at, just some of the topics they wanted to cover, and it's funny that just some of the bigger industry things that you wouldn't think of as even being web topics, like VR and I guess augmented reality kind of makes sense, but see those on like the topic list for the show, and
Yeah, that's true. The
Did-
web is kind of like everything is touching it at some point.
Yeah, it's this all-encompassing platform
Mhm.
in a way that you experience it every day, but you don't really like. I don't. At least I don't think of it like that a lot of the time. But I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think that's another thing that I think is going to be a huge focus at Fluent. That part of the reason why the web is becoming this all-encompassing platform that people or the developers at least, are kind of flocking to is everyone always talks about this whole next billion users issue, and that's in reference to the people in India especially, but in other markets in Asia that are just really getting access to the internet now.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that most of them are getting access is through these cheap mobile devices. So you're never going to be able to run, obviously, a desktop application on a cheap mobile device. And even mobile applications, you're not going to have as much access to them, and they may not perform. They may not be optimized to perform on those devices. So people are trying to figure out how can we make our services and our applications accessible to those people? How can we reach those people? And I think the web is just basically the most friction-free pipeline for doing that. So.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I think a lot about cross-platform, but that's just a platform that is kind of accessible to everybody, regardless of device. So,
right.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess just performance and scaling and all that's always an issue, but I'm sure that there are many different answers to that.
Right.
I'm unaware of most of them, so
it's hard to be aware of most of them. Yeah, I think that's why conferences like Fluent are good. Like you guys were saying, there's always more to learn when there's just so many options and things like that out there. So
yeah, as well. I agree as well. Also think that I haven't attended Fluent either, so I was wondering if you knew, like, for example, when we attended Build, we had Microsoft created like a portal for you to see the different talks and things that, for some people who didn't get the chance to attend, they were still able to see some of the information and see what was going on through Channel 9. Do you know if O'Reilly has some other, site or some type of resource where people who don't have the opportunity to go can see, what's going
Troy
on?
really wants to go to Fluent.
I'd like to watch some of the videos myself. I mean, I was thinking that.
There are, so I've seen videos from like 2016 and 2015 on YouTube. I'm not sure that they'll have a dedicated page for it. If there is one, I haven't seen it.
Maybe a YouTube channel.
YouTube channel? Yeah, I think O'Reilly has. I'm sure O'Reilly has a YouTube channel.
I'm sure that they do. I don't actually know too much about, after the show, what materials are just publicly available, especially in like a fully sanctioned way. But
Oh yeah.
I'll just bootleg everything for bootlegs.
Christian's gonna go with a GoPro strapped to his head.
Yeah.
Just go around to as many talks as he can. Wait, he's not gonna do that.
Yeah, he's not
gonna.
Not going to be at the booth.
People are
blacklisted for all when I try to go.
Just so you know, you won't find Christian at the
Have
booth.
you seen this?
Yeah.
People are gonna be walking around with Christian's picture. Have you seen this person?
Have you seen?
If you do, please contact security immediately.
Photoshopped on Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, no, I know what I'm gonna do. When is it? It's coming up here, isn't it?
Yeah,
19th.
the 20th. Yeah.
2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
2
Yeah, about
weeks.
2 weeks away. So. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited about it. I think. I don't know. Nothing we've already said. Haven't already said, I guess. But it's just. I mean, obviously the web is just pretty big right now.
Oh,
It's-
sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's been big, but it's just that the momentum hasn't really died down at all. I don't think. If anything, it's picked up. So
JavaScript, things like JavaScript and like the adoption rate of things like TypeScript are just propelling it even further. I mean, if you Google JavaScript libraries,
yeah,
you get you can pretty much take your pick at this point. And like Christian said, they're getting more and more advanced, and you can do more and more with less. That it makes perfect sense for a lot of people, and even the security. Like security used to be a concern for me. Like when I would go, on site with customers for GrapeCity, and I would say, "What kind of web are you looking, or what kind of application are you looking to build?"
Mm-hmm.
And they'd tell me, and I'd say, "Well, have you thought about, the web, like JavaScript and the web?" They're like, "No, the security is not quite where we need it to be."
Mm-hmm.
But that's even evolved to the point where that's becoming that used to be a sticking point. That's now it's not there anymore. So I can see how the rate at which the web is things like JavaScript and the web is advancing.
Yeah, I mean, over the last few years, you'd see certain web apps. I mean, this is old now, but I remember seeing like a port of Quake 3, I think, that was running totally in browser. I remember that just completely destroyed any notion I had of like what limitations you had as far as like doing something in a browser without any kind of plugin or anything. So
yeah, that I actually forgot about this, but this will probably be. I'm sure there will be talks about it. I didn't see any specifically yet when I've been browsing through, but WebAssembly, the spec is officially approved now, and I think Chrome supports it. Firefox, I think, also does. But browsers are getting mainstream support for WebAssembly, which supposedly WebAssembly is kind of gonna that's what's gonna cement the web supposedly as the platform that ultimately everyone is just going to write for the web, and that's all it's going to be because you can write C++ code, you can write, and it ultimately compiles down to bytecode that you can deliver through the web. And there's some pretty intense games, like demo games, that you can try out online right now.
I'm sure. I mean, what I was talking about, I think, is at least 5 years old at this point. So
no.
But I mean, I remember at the time, it just completely, like I said, reshaped my opinion of what you could do.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I think. This is just carrying that paradigm shift even farther through because Unity works in the browser now and stuff like that.
Right.
And so I think probably within the next year, we're going to see a lot more stuff built with that because people just haven't really had the chance to even learn how to use it, I don't think.
Yeah. What is WebAssembly, by the way? Is it a framework or is it like some tool that you use?
It's so it's kind of like an API. It's like a browser API that. Well, it's hard to explain. There are a few different parts to it, but yeah, it's basically like a compiler, and it's an official spec for that compiler, and then it's also a browser API that allows you to actually deliver on the one hand you have to be able to actually run the code, but on the other hand you have to be able to actually deliver it over the web. So there's kind of like two halves to that equation, but. Honestly, I'm not super familiar with it. I just I played around with the demos and looked at what the code looks like, but it's basically, it just allows people to deliver and run native code through the browser. When I say native, I mean native, not like C# or not like Java on Android or something like bytecode that a
you're
processor
talking about
read.
Whatever actually gets compiled out of that. So
Exactly.
Pretty cool.
Nice. Well, hopefully all of this stuff will be mentioned in Fluent. Otherwise, you guys are going to look like you guys are going to have egg on your face. Because now everybody who watches this video is going to expect to see all this stuff.
I think it will.
Fluent.
I think it'll all be
No, I think Fluent's going to be cool. I've never had the opportunity to go, but everybody who has gone that I've talked to in the recaps and the meetings that we have afterwards, they all loved it. And it's in San Jose too.
San Jose.
Can't beat it.
Yeah.
It's a good time of year to go to San Jose. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Springtime, anytime after that, it's going to be a little hot.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's pretty far south down there.
Yeah.
But
So, well, have fun.
Thank you. Thank
Troy, you're not going.
No.
Troy's going to be at plenty of other. Troy's going to be and has been at plenty of other events. So we're
missing
trying.
out on the best one though.
No, you're not. No, you're not. I mean, you went to Build. Troy's going to be
All
at
right.
that. He's going to be at that conference. So that's another one's coming up.
Build is great.
Yeah.
I'm not down.
Build was
south.
great. No. He's like, thanks for sending me to Build. She sent me to Fluent. But that's neither here nor there. But I think we can wrap it up for this week and
Yeah.
have fun.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to go, and I'll be back to talk about all of that stuff because
Yeah.
they're definitely going to talk about it.
Right,
all,
so we're gonna do. I'm holding you to that. We're gonna do another 4 devs
Yeah.
after Fluent, and we're gonna see how much of this you got right.
All right.
All right.
Okay. We
All
can
right.
use my bootlegs.
That's right. But we'll pull the GoPro footage and kind of splice it in.
Yeah.
I
Sounds
have
good.
one if you want.
All right.
All right. Till next time.